September has arrived on the Eastern Front, bringing with it late summer rains. Guderian continues to drive his tanks south in a daring attempt to cut off the defenders of Kyiv. Behind him, Field Marshal von Bock struggles to hold the line at Yelna against relentless Soviet assaults. The high command seems willing to sacrifice tens of thousands of soldiers to retake the salient. Last week we saw Guderian clash with the Bryansk front as his panzers turned south, while in the north the advance on Leningrad slowed as the city was cut off from outside rail connections. This week we cover September 1st through 7th as summer fades into autumn. We begin with Army Group North and the battle for Leningrad. In early September, the German drive on Leningrad recovered momentum. Vatutin's counteroffensive had been beaten back, Estonia was cleared, and Soviet forces reeled under the pressure. To strengthen the city's defenses, Stavka dispatched the 54th, 52nd, and 4th Armies to block a German-Finnish link-up across the Volkhov. A bitter struggle for Munga unfolded. Although briefly recaptured by Soviet forces, it soon fell back into German hands. By September 7th, the Germans had secured both Miga and Siniavino, severing Leningrad's final land connections. Only Lake Ladoga offered a tenuous supply route. The pace of the German advance slowed drastically, from 5 kilometers a day in July to just 1.5 kilometers in September, due to supply shortages, exhaustion, and fierce Soviet resistance. Still, many German soldiers believed their task was complete. With Leningrad surrounded, all they had to do was wait for the city to starve. The Finns had advanced far across the Karelian Isthmus, posing a direct threat to the city, though they had no plans to storm it. Soviet commanders could not know this and committed scarce forces to push them back. By September, the Northern Front was split into the new Leningrad and Karelian fronts, reflecting Stavka's desperate attempt to reorganize defenses. Meanwhile, Army Group Center faced crisis. Timoshenko's forces pounded box lines east of Smolensk, while Guderian clamored for reinforcements. The Yelna salient, heavily contested for weeks, was reaching breaking point. On September 6th, Hitler issued War Directive No. 35. After months of hesitation, he ordered that Moscow be taken. The plan called for a massive encirclement of Soviet forces, with Guderian returning north once Kyiv was secured, supported by Hupner's and Hoth's panzer groups. Army Group South would continue pushing into Ukraine and Crimea. The directive emphasized close encirclements, a point of contention between Hitler and his generals. Still, Bock was satisfied. The Moscow drive would resume, and his command regained priority. For now, though, Army Group Center endured unrelenting Soviet attacks. Zhukov regrouped his forces and struck on September 1st, launching assaults across the front. At Yelna, 4 understrength German divisions held against the weight of multiple Soviet armies. Officers reported desperate trench fighting with little artillery or armor support. Realizing the salient could not be held, Bock ordered a withdrawal on September 4th. German forces retreated across the Desna River in good order, and by September 5th, Yelna was liberated. For the first time in the war, Soviet forces had forced the Wehrmacht from fortified positions. It cost them over 30,000 casualties, but the victory boosted morale. The Germans too suffered heavily, losing nearly 10,000 men. Though a success, Stavka was frustrated that the Germans escaped encirclement. While Yelna fell, Guderian's southward thrust encountered its own problems. At the end of August, the Bryansk front blocked Schweppenberg's panzers from crossing the Desna in strength, leaving Guderian's flanks exposed. He begged for reinforcements but received only limited units, as Army Group Center needed its panzers to resist Timoshenko's offensives. On September 1st, Schweppenberg forced a crossing with just 86 operational tanks. Soviet counterattacks followed immediately. Around Korab, the 21st Army failed disastrously, losing over 1,000 men as prisoners. But against Model's 4th Panzer, even the weakened 10th Tank Division managed to slow progress for days. Meanwhile, Stalin personally ordered Eremenko to smash Guderian's northern flank. Eremenko targeted Lemelson's overstretched 47th Corps with cavalry and tanks, hoping to overwhelm the thin defenses of the 17th Panzer Division. Despite initial optimism, poor reconnaissance and coordination doomed the offensive. By September 2nd, the 108th Tank Division was surrounded and nearly destroyed, with only 11 tanks surviving. The 141st Tank Brigade was reduced to fewer than 40 tanks. Soviet attacks devolved into costly, uncoordinated assaults. By September 5th, Eremenko was forced to deploy blocking detachments to prevent retreats, a grim measure reflecting collapsing morale. The offensive cost over 100,000 Soviet casualties, with little to show for it. Guderian's flank remained intact. Around Kyiv, Rundstedt feared the Red Army might still escape the encirclement. To prevent this, he ordered massive crossings of the Dnipro. The 1st Panzer Group and 17th Army fought to establish bridgeheads, despite fierce resistance from the 38th Army. Soviet counterattacks with dozens of tanks were crushed, but at high cost. By September 7th, German forces had expanded their positions at Kremenchuk. Plans were adjusted. Instead of securing flanks, the 1st Panzer would spearhead the breakout towards Kyiv, with infantry following. Progress stalled, however, as supplies and bridges lagged behind. Further south at Dnipropetrovsk, the 3rd Motorized Corps clung to a fragile bridgehead, supplied by just a footbridge and a captured pontoon. Constant Soviet counterattacks, air raids, and artillery fire destroyed bridges repeatedly, while German losses mounted. Daily casualties reached into the hundreds, with entire companies reduced to a handful of men. Yet orders from above forbade withdrawal, forcing Zeitzler's corps to endure the brutal fighting. By the first week of September, the twin offensives aimed at encircling the southwestern front were faltering. Guderian was slowed by long flanks, limited reinforcements, and stubborn Soviet resistance. In the south, the 17th Army fought to hold its gains against determined defenders. Then the rains began. Unlike summer storms, these downpours lasted for weeks. Roads turned to mud, horses slipped, and vehicles bogged down. It sometimes took 10 hours to move 20 kilometers. The rains slowed both sides, turning rapid advances into grueling positional battles. German divisions, worn down by constant attrition, were forced to dissolve units just to keep others combat ready. Mobile warfare gave way to static trench fighting, reminiscent of World War I. Soviet artillery barrages became increasingly common, signaling a shift in momentum. The Germans still held the initiative, but their advantage in speed and organization was eroding as the war dragged into autumn. Thus ended the first week of September 1941. Leningrad was isolated, Yelna liberated, and Guderian's drive south slowed but still pressing forward. The Soviets had suffered enormous losses, yet they had managed to inflict the first forced German retreat of the war. The Eastern Front was shifting. Lightning war was giving way to a brutal war of attrition. The outcome of Operation Barbarossa remained undecided, but one thing was clear: the campaign would not end before winter. Stay tuned for next week's continuation of the Eastern Front, September 1941.